Welcome back to another New Age Recruiting Essentials here at Prep Baseball. I'm your host, Shooter Hunt, Vice President of Scouting at Prep Baseball. And today we have on one of my oldest friends in college baseball, of course, the great Mitch Canham, head coach at the Oregon State, home of the Beavers. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Shooter, thanks for having me on. I was telling the guys that I got to jump on with you, and they're like, "You know Shooter?" I go, "Yeah, I know him. I've got to catch the man. He's got some pretty good stuff." They're like, really? He could throw? And I go, "He could really throw the baseball."
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I was going to lead off with many know you as the head coach, but what I knew you as was kind of the elder statesman on our Cape Cod baseball team. Rest in peace, Jeff Trundy, who was a mentor and very much like you were. You were the older statesman. You came in national champions in 2006. You get up to the Cape late. We've been watching you on TV for 2 weeks. Who is this guy? And the things that I learned and how you helped change the trajectory of my career is something that I am forever grateful for, especially when you weren't breaking bats over your knee.
Jeff gave me a hard time about that one. Mitch, I believe it was Mitch Moreland that struck me out. I swear that ball was like 6 inches outside, but umpire called a strike, lost my temper a little bit. And Jeff told me that was unacceptable. And I'm glad you brought him up, man. He's an amazing, amazing man, and he will forever be missed. But what he did for us and changed the game and taught us how to be better men, that man was incredible. So, tough to hear about him passing, but what a time we had in the Cape, man.
It was so much fun. Obviously, you had a great time. We're both there in 2006, a bunch of future big leaguers. You go on to be a first-round pick to the Padres, along with Brad Chalk, who was on that team. And it was amazing because you guys go back-to-back, of course, at Oregon State as a player there. And I can remember hearing the stories about you and just like you were so mature. It's like Mitch could be mayor of Corvallis right now, just all this stuff, but you really were like a leader behind the plate, captain, all those things. You go on to obviously the great success for the Beavers, go on to Pro Ball. How much did that experience as a player help you transfer over to what you've been able to do as a coach?
That opportunity to go play out there for summer ball, I don't know how young student athletes don't take advantage of that and go play summer ball. To be around, I'm glad you're saying you saw that from me. I was catching some of the greatest arms in college baseball that summer, and the lights in Falmouth weren't exactly like the best for seeing the ball. One time Eddie Coons threw a ball like 97 miles an hour, and it whizzed right by my head and the umpires, and I didn't even touch it. He said, "Son, I'm gonna need you to catch the ball." I said, "I didn't see it. Stay behind me. Let me wear it if it happens." But some of the guys that we got to play with and against in that league was incredible. The host family setup, the way that the teams ran, the travel was easy. Just getting to do that. And I met Andy McKay, my former boss, up playing in Alaska for the Glacier Pilots.
Okay.
He was my coach then. Then he called me, 12 years later and asked if I want to start coaching with the Mariners. So the connections that you make, the experience that you get from playing wood bat, a lot of scouts running around. So you start to get exposed to the noise of the game a little bit. It was incredible. And having a summer like I did up there actually built a ton of confidence in what I was able to do. Winning a World Series adds a lot of confidence too, and playing here at Oregon State comes with the territory, but being able to go out there and do that. And I was actually drafted that year by the Cardinals and ended up Darwin said, anyone can win one. Let's go win two, right? I wanted to finish my degree, and I wanted to win another one. And that was our terms. We got to win another one, got to finish the degree. And someday I want to coach at Oregon State, and Darwin, you got to do it with me. And we got to do that as well, a couple of years ago. So it was cool to see the vision come to fruition.
And we're going to dive into some recruiting stuff with your current team, but I just wanted to build the backstory because shoot, it feels like just yesterday to me where you guys were on TV, and it was kind of the early stages of like Omaha's on every day. I think you guys were the first time where it was the 3-game against UNC, whatever it may have been. That was like kind of where the college baseball game kind of got to that next level of like, this is going to TV a lot. And I can remember back to like those Oregon State Beaver teams. They were kind of blue collar, up and coming. Even that second year, like you guys kind of got on a magical run. But it was really impressive to watch. And I'm sure those memories you have from there have really helped or really guided you to where you are now. It's easy for you to sell a place that you believe in that much.
That's what everyone says. I can easily turn a 5-minute conversation into 30 or an hour once we start talking about Oregon State and the people here. It was one of those things the other day at our diamond dinner, as we're talking about our players, and for our players to come in and see how much they are loved. And then when I tell them in the fall, you guys are superheroes here. Like, this is a special place. You have to work. You have to like buy into what this place is about. And a lot of times they don't even see how great they could possibly be. They have this imaginary wall sitting in front of them, as we all do from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we have limitations. But the reality is, when we surround ourselves with great people and we pray on it, like, so many more things are we're capable of doing, affecting others. It's like right now, thinking back on those stories and hearing from people from time to time, maybe cruising around the country and someone will go, "Oh, I remember you guys doing this," or getting to meet Adley Rutschman or meet Travis Bazzana. Travis Bazzana stuck around after every game and signed every kid's autograph, regardless of how he was feeling. There were times where he was beat, tired, or not feeling well at all, and he would stay there because he knew that a lot of these kids went out to go see him play. Garrett Forrester, same thing, just great human beings. And so these guys at the diamond dinner, seeing the crowd give them a standing ovation for those guys that returned with all the noise going on in the world right now, feels incredible. That first weekend down in Surprise, and I'm excited to see it. All of our young guys are going to come out the first time wearing a Beaver uniform. They're going to come out of the dugout. They're going to turn around. There's going to be 4,000 people wearing orange and black, the faithful. And they're going to go, "Holy smokes, we're playing on the road and we got 4,000 people watching us right now." It's an incredible feeling, and you will do anything and everything to fight for this family and this program.
And the culture of it, we've talked so much about culture, and you've been a huge believer in it, and you lead by example. You take over for legendary Pat Casey, who built, this little school in Corvallis, which is away from SEC country, right? But it's right in the mix of right with those big dogs, if not ahead of them, with what Pat Casey was able to do. You step in, take over for the great Coach Casey. What was that like, and how did you adjust? What were things that you brought in after him?
Well, honestly, I was very fortunate to spend several years learning from him, and it didn't stop there as a player. Ever since I left, Case has always been a mentor of mine. Dan Spencer, who's up at Linfield now, just right down the road, who was our pitching catching coach when I was here, also been a huge mentor of mine.
I got to get him on here.
He's amazing. I talk to him every week. He calls me right. He knows right when I'm dropping our daughter off at school, and then I'm on the phone with him, and we're talking baseball, changes, life, you name it, kids, trying to figure that out, being a parent. But it's not just that. It's guys like we talked about, Trundy and Yancey Ayers and Matt and Forbesy, and my high school coaches, wrestling coach Brent Barnes, Ken Collins, all these guys that I learned from by watching and can reach out to anytime. It was never about wins and losses. Obviously we want to win every game. There's no doubt, right? But it's focusing on people, being a great human being. We all fall down, but it's about getting back up and having the right people with you. And I've just, when you're taking over for someone like Case and trying to, continue where he left off and keep this place going, the only thing that I can control is my work ethic, my passion surrounding this place, being very picky when it comes to who's joining us in that clubhouse. Or it doesn't matter if it's the clubhouse, our student managers, our analytics team, our boosters, you name it. Like, anyone who's going to be tied to this program has got to be an incredible person with strong ethics. And so that's how we run everything. You show up to the field early this morning. I got a guy like Joey Munt, who's one of the first ones at breakfast, and he's been here longer than any of us on staff, right? Who comes back because he loves this place so dearly, and he's mentoring all of our younger guys. and it's our coaches that show up. And Ryan Gorton, our director of ops, who played here as well, every day, go Beavs, man. The guy comes in, he's excited to be a part of this. He's been working here for several years, and he's going to do anything and everything. If the garbage needs to be taken out, if windows need to be washed, if light bulbs need to be changed, and we can do it to save some time for facilities, we're going to do it. If it means tidying up around the parking lot, I'm all for it. It's not just what happens on the baseball field. And we want our guys to see that as well, because we're just like Case taught us, it's about creating good men and husbands and fathers and you name it. And it's one thing, a lot of people can say that and talk about family, but it's another to live it. Mm-hmm. And I always felt that the best thing we can do is getting someone. If you really want to know what this place is about, come hang out and spend a couple of days here, talk to the guys, watch how we practice, watch how we interact. You can't just do it looking on social media. You can't just make assumptions with whatever else. You got to come live it. And the guys that do it, if you look at the retention that we had last year with no conference and portals and NIL stuff, I mean, we're not running around boasting the craziest NIL collect. It's not happening. Not over here. But why did we retain everyone? Why did Dax Whitney choose to come here instead of signing a draft, and countless others? Why didn't Turley and Caraway and Keljo and Segura and whoever else decide to take off? Because there are people that come out and start knocking on the door and say, hey, just letting you know, there's opportunities. But we have those guys here who love this place, and it is their family. So it is a real testament to this place.
You took the question right away from me, because I was going to blow you up. I thought coming out of the summer, right? Hey, you guys have no conference. You're going out of this place. Where is it going to be? But you had some really good players who very easily could have gone in the portal and would have been. You talked about Caraway. You talked about Gurley. They easily could have left. And I thought it was a huge deal this summer. Those guys wanted to stay. And I had somebody recently talk about hey, these Oregon State kids are there. They just really like Oregon State. They like what it's about. They're not looking for anything else. What is it that you guys do on a daily basis with those guys to build that? Or is it just the consistency of being, like you said, building future leaders?
Well, I mean, we're not about material things here. We're about relationships, and that takes time. We don't omit information from our guys. I mean, was it early April? I had the conversation. I shared with everyone the 2025 schedule. I want you guys to know what we're getting into next year, because at the end of the year, after the last game, everyone gets their bags packed and they take off for summer ball or whatever. And I wanted to be upfront. I knew what it was going to look like, and so I wanted to share it with our guys. Just like I know the situation that financially what we were going to be in, I want to share with our guys. Sometimes there's conversations that maybe people don't necessarily need to bother themselves with, but I am very transparent with our guys. I do not want to omit any information. We're training them to be very productive adults with whatever they do beyond here. And so I'm going to give them the big boy conversations, regardless of what it is. I'm not afraid. You want to know where you sit on the depth chart? Come on in. I'll open up the board and we'll show you. Because wherever you're at, and if you want to make an adjustment and move up that thing, not just our depth chart here, but globally, right? Where do you sit based on where you want to be in the big leagues? I want to give them the answers. And if I don't know it, I'm going to tell them I don't know it, right? It's being open and vulnerable and letting them know the truth, because that's one thing that a lot of people don't always give, is the full on truth. And it can be a very difficult situation out there. Promises that are not kept. That's where a lot of the times, as rosters are changing and all that, I want to be able to give the best, most accurate information I can possibly give. And if there's things I don't know, I'll just flat out tell you I don't know. And so I think the amount of love that each guy has for this place, year in and year out, I know, Travis took off, but the lasting impact that Travis had on that next group was incredible. Yeah. The things that Turley and Caraway are going to do for the next group, or Dallas Macias is going to do for the next group, the jumps you see guys make from their freshman to sophomore year, or sophomore to junior year especially, it's incredible. And so when you're constantly bouncing around, how are you ever going to get an education? How are you ever going to build lasting relationships? My best friends are from my time in college. Those are all the guys I still talk to. I have some friends from pro ball or what have you, but they're all from college. Those are that's my family, right? And so we're trying to share stories with the guys, trying to really educate them on what it's about. And they know, whatever amount of money it is. And trust me, I've heard plenty of conversations talking with recruits. Well, I was told I got to go to this conference in order to get drafted. Was that true? I mean, Oregon State's had a few first overall picks in the last several years, right? And one even happened like right when the conference was like non-existent.
Yeah.
And so what are we saying? If you're good, you will get seen, right? If you're a good person, you handle your business on the field, you handle your business off the field, you give yourself the best chance, especially if you have real work ethic and are surrounded by great people. And that's the one thing. When people come here, they get better on and off the field. That's got to happen. The baseball stuff's great. Our guys know if they don't go to class, they're not going to practice that day. If they miss an advising appointment or a meeting with their tutor, like apparently they need the day off from practice too.
Oof.
And so it's a promise. I get it. Like everyone's going to sit there and get on me if we don't win every game or what have you, or if pitching or offense or whatever is not being productive. And so no one's going to get on me about a guy getting a C in macroeconomics, but I'm going to get frustrated if my guy's missing assignments, because that to me is a reflection of everything that you do in life. And so treating others with respect, when we have appointments, we make them and we show up on time, which is early. And if we don't, and we make a mistake, we own it, we pay our dues, and we get back on the field and do our job. So it's, again, we're continuing to teach life lessons to these young men, but also each other as coaches. Our coaches office, a lot of us played together and we're all former Beef, so we all love this place.
Yeah.
One person in this office, when you sit in there, and we're going to sit there and get on each other about being better, challenging each other. And I always say, if someone on the coaching staff's not giving me a hard time at least once a week, we got problems. What are you hiding from me? Because I know I make plenty of mistakes. So, and I know don't hide it from me because you don't want to make me mad. It's fine. Like, don't take things personal, right? Never make assumptions. Go at it.
Are these the types of open questions and conversations you're having with prospective recruits? Because I think you guys are in a unique spot where you do have the legacy and the history, but you talked about, the Pac-12 is dissolved. Kind of some question marks about what's going to happen with you guys. Awesome schedule for 2025. You have kept all your guys. I'll say you have a really good 2025 recruiting class coming in, or potentially coming in. What are those conversations with recruits like, and what are questions you enjoy getting from them and from their parents?
Well, again, the conversations are very transparent. About anything and everything. I mean, when it comes to what's the 2026 schedule, I can't share that with everyone because still working on contracts and all that, but I know what it's going to be. And I'm very excited about that one too.
There you go.
And again, it's outlook. Oh, you got 20 home games this year. That's not true. You're not counting regionals and super regionals. We handle our job. We got more games coming, the fun ones, right? And so what a great opportunity. What a gift when you have this situation in front of you that people are looking at it as negative. I go, then you must not. I mean, if you're thinking about this whole situation as negative, we must not be talking to the right person then. Because how we look at those things, it's a positive. Like, God has entrusted us with, like, he gives the hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, right? So what's that saying? He believes in us to be the strong soldiers. So let's go out and take care of it. And I've had times, so here's the thing. Anytime they can call and ask me any question they want, right? And we'll have an honest conversation about it. But when other people who don't know about it, hey, maybe you want to go somewhere else, you're not getting what you need there, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Have they ever been to practice? Have they ever been watched you work out? Have they ever been in this environment and seen how we all interact with one another and how we train? No? Then what do they have to weigh in on? Or, the NIL situation out there could be robust. Our guys don't talk about NIL. Yeah, our guys have NIL deals, sure. But is it a point of focus that our guys need to sit there and boast, or that's the end all be all? It's like Travis said, money is not going to be made through NIL. Money is not going to be made in the draft. And now, granted, Travis was drafted 1 overall. He got paid very handsomely. But even then, that wasn't Travis. He's like, no, that's not. That's an investment
step
for the next step. It's the arbitration and then getting the big contract. And so, like, money for us, when guys are starting to worry about material things in that, it is a red flag, only in the fact that we need to educate them why that is not the real main like drive here. And so I think we have created an environment where our players will be honest with our recruits if they want to connect. Our coaching staff is very honest with the guys as well. But a lot of times they're getting misinformation, or other people are just trying to, I don't know. It's funny when we don't talk about other schools. We focus on the Beavs, right? And it sounds like sometimes some of our recruits are getting talked to by other people saying, hey, coaching staff's all going to bail, and they don't have this and they don't have that, and scheduling and blah blah. I'm pretty certain we're doing just fine. And if you've ever met our staff, like, we're diehards, right? I was jealous of Bray when our football staff took off to Michigan State. That was one thing and Bray stayed. I was like, man, I'm so proud of you, like, for showing how much he really loves this. And the other guys had to go, and it's part of the deal, Athletics is a mobile landscape. But I was like, man, Bray, I'm jealous you got the opportunity to show how much you love this place. I wish I had an opportunity like that. And then we lost our conference. So that was God's way of saying, you wanted the opportunity to show how much you love it. Here it is. And we're all here.
You're definitely being pushed. What about more specifically for a recruit? We're talking to a high school kid, their family's listening in, loving what they're hearing from you, a lot of honesty. You go up to a game. What are you looking for? What is a Beaver type player on the field? I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm a 2027. How do I get on the radar of the Beaver baseball coaching staff?
It's wild, like, especially so much out there, and with the roster limits changing, right? And so you can't miss. I mean, there's some schools out there that have really high numbers of recruits in the freshman class. How are they going to make that work? A lot of kids are going to get pushed out, and that's just what's going to happen. And is this freshman ready to go out and compete right away? Because if you have a 34-man roster, you got to maybe half and half, 17 pitchers, 17 position guys. And so you need those guys to be able to go out and perform. It's not hang out and wait till the next year. And so a lot of schools are going to have to make decisions. Do I bring in this freshman? Or do I go out and get this junior college guy, or this guy who has jumped in the portal and, has Division I or Division II, whatever, Division III experience and been successful? So there's a lot. You're not just competing against people in your class anymore.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting landscape, how people go about it. I think we are very patient. I'm not going to sit there and make offers and just try to, hoard as much as we can, because those other conversations of it not working out they're awful, right? Like when you're buying gear to go to a certain university and you are all in, and then all of a sudden you're not there anymore. It's tough. And every situation is different. There's no doubt. And sometimes it has to happen, Shooter, but these guys, look at some of the guys that are here right now and how big they are and how fast they are and how hard they throw, right? And so
I think, and I wanted to touch, because you guys have done a good job. Is it difficult for you with this potential 34-man roster coming? Because I think historically, I mean, you can even go reason like Adley Rutschman wasn't great as a freshman. He hit like whatever it may have been. Trevor Larnach kind of had to take his lumps as a freshman. But those are guys that historically the program has done a great job of developing those guys. Is there not, I don't want to say worry about the 34-man, but is it going to be a more conscious effort to, hey, we want to really evaluate for a longer time? Or what will happen to your recruiting?
Well, the types of questions and the back and forth that we have, it's never a quick move. And you get a lot of people popping up on the radar. What do you think? Well, you got to look at the rest of what's going on. Like, this guy could be really good, a really, really good first baseman, but we already have a guy, and we're really working on developing, because we know the jump the freshmen take once they get to a sophomore.
Oh, yeah.
And so forth. But it is tough, because, I'm not like, if someone reaches out and says, hey, this kid's amazing, I agree. It's just, is it going to fit with exactly what we have going on? And so the questions that we ask, getting kids to come to campus and feel the environment. Are you really willing to do this? And also letting them spend time with our players. I value the feedback of our student athletes at a very high level. Do you see this guy being in that clubhouse with us? Like not on a social level, on a physical level, on an emotional level. Will he be a guy that comes in and makes the guy next to him better? So you have to be extremely talented physically, right? Everyone, this last camp we had, a kid goes, how come you recruited these guys to be here? And I go down the line, look at the size of that guy. That guy throws, 96 miles an hour. That guy does this. So physically, you can tell them all, these are the big things that separate them. But what goes beyond that is I'm like, the way that this guy pours into the pitchers, the way that this guy shows up to work day in and day out. This guy is a great student as well. And what we had 14 guys with straight A's, this last quarter. And I was just like, we recruit like high character, high academic kids that want to go to work.
And as my brother-in-law calls it, the Harvard of the West. So you got to be working pretty hard to do that. It is fascinating. And you talked about kind of the threshold, like, hey, all these guys do this. You said Dax Whitney's going to throw 100, like in a couple or maybe this year. But all these guys have those thresholds. But it's important to have that makeup, the discipline, the ability to go out there. And I think in all programs, any recruits listening right now, especially the collegiate level, right? It becomes a family. Winning matters even more than in pro ball. Once you go off there, it's a little more self-oriented, I guess I would say, and winning is less important. Yeah. Hey, at the collegiate level, you got to win, and to kind of, not that you have to fit in, but it's good to go out there and be working in a singular focus. Yeah,
the development that happens at the collegiate level, and it's an all-day thing, right? You look at what the calendar looks like, waking up at 5:15, getting to weights by 5:40, getting to lift from 6 to 7, going to breakfast, hitting the training room for prehab or rehab, and then going to class from 9 to noon, jumping over the field and having a player-led, mental skills or our mental skills coach jumping in, and then, busting out practice. And then after practice is over, make sure you fuel, get lunch in before practice too. Then after practice, you might have a tutor, you might have, some time to jump in the cold tub or the sauna. And then, after finishing up work, eat. And then most guys are going back and doing some evening work as well. But I also have to have time for social. What about, we got a women's basketball game tonight. I know some of the guys are going to be going to that for sure. Wrestling matches later on this week as well. Guys are going to go to that as well. So making sure that you're getting that holistic experience of being a student athlete. Or what about Wednesday? Wednesday is a big day for reading to our local elementary school kids. We're going to have guys going to that as well. Like, there's a lot that can take onto this. And sometimes in pro ball, it's like, go to the field, get your work in, go sit at the La Quinta the rest of the evening and play video games. And that's to me is why, like, kids that are signing out of high school, some guys are ready for it, some guys are not. But most don't know because they've never done it before. The experience that you can get here or going to college, period, is huge. And is it easy? No. But there's also enough support. I know here we have so much support that as difficult as a jump as it is, like, you have support around you. And every parent, like, is going to be worrying about their kids. And that's why we have all of our guys write letters home to mom and dad in the fall. You got to teach them how to, like, address the envelope too, Shooter. Like,
can they write in cursive still? I write in cursive, so
it's hit or miss.
Okay.
It's hit or miss. But, just understanding how to do little things like those and how meaningful it is to write a letter home to your parents or a loved one, just reconnecting because, first year in college, you're going to feel a little homesick, right? It's a different environment. I came down from Seattle and I didn't know anybody, like, really. And so it took some getting used to, and going to sporting events or being part of clubs or whatever, going to class, making sure that I was getting there early and being social, to build a good network. But there are things like special about Oregon State that allows people to handle that burden so they're not alone. And it's a difficult landscape, but I think what most people have to do, and why I ask so many questions about their makeup, I always ask about hardship. What's the hardest thing you went through and what'd you learn from it? Because I know they're going to experience that here, wherever they go. How are they going to handle it? Are they going to come in and crumble? Or do they have a good chance of picking themselves up and helping the guys next to them? So I like going a little more in depth, talking to mom and dad, talking to siblings, talking to all their coaches, what makes them tick. But have you ever worked a job? Most people know.
I think mine was umpiring. I was always the umpire for stuff, but we've done a bunch of these so far, and like a lot comes down, right? How good are you? There's a certain level, like, hey, yeah, you're a good kid, but like you're just not at this level. But it's really fascinating to dive in deeper to like, hey, these are the conversations we're having. I always look at like, hey, is this guy going to be able to get outs when we're on the road at ASU, we're on the road at Iowa, we're in the Midwest this year, we got a 3-game set against Minnesota, whoever it may be. Hey, these are tough games, right? UCLA, we're in the former Civil War against Oregon in a big matchup in Eugene. Hey, are you going to be able to deliver in the 8th inning? And that sounds like some of the stuff that you're diving into with these families beyond just their bat speed or how hard they're throwing.
And it's consistency. Consistency. Like there's always production, right? Like versus potential. Like how many guys are like, man, this guy could be really good if he would just figure this part out in life, or whatever. And production, like and consistent production, is extremely important. But you're right; those guys that can handle the big moment. Travis Bazzano, when he was here on his recruiting trip, we offered him an opportunity to come here to Oregon State, and he, started to get choked up and just out of joy. And he was so happy. He's like, he wouldn't say yes. He goes, I have always dreamt of this moment, but I need to make sure I go home and talk to my family about it. And so he was mature enough that he didn't get sped up by an opportunity to come here and a scholarship and all that stuff. He went home, talked it over with his family, and then called us and let us know. And sometimes kids can get sped up really quick. And the reality is we want people that want to be here. It's we're not going to sit here and hound you, especially over like the holidays. I don't want our coaching staff to sit there and like keep bugging guys. I want genuine conversations. If you have something, hit me up. Let's talk. But let's just not do it just to check a box.
Yeah.
Hi, coach. No, Coach Canham would work. You call me Skip or whatever. But how many people are you calling coach? Call them by their name. There's something special about a name. Or what's up, buddy? That ain't happening, right? Then you just tell you've been on calls all day. I want people that really want to be here, and all the kids that are here, those guys are the ones that have always shown a genuine interest in wanting to be a part of this culture and program. And that's why I almost feel like sometimes I try to scare people off in a sense. I'm like overly honest with everything, and just because find out who has the grit and who really wants to be here, as opposed to a tier 1 Nike program. We have all the gear in the world and then some, right? From the Evo shields and the hats and the jerseys and the sweaters, you name it, shoes. And we don't show any of that off on recruiting trips.
That's interesting because I love your jerseys.
I love them too. I like the cream ones. Big fan.
Same.
The fact that I still get to wear one is incredible. But like, think about that. Like some schools, like, hey, check out all this that you get. I don't like showing off the material things. I want you to say, look, check out the people you get to be around. Check out the coaches that are going to teach you. Check out the hitting facility and how we train here. I want you to meet our strength coach and why he's going to turn you into a beast. I want you to meet our athletic trainer and show you how we're going to keep you on the field. I want you to meet our academic supervisor and how she's going to keep you in line and make sure you're studying the appropriate amount of hours. I want you to meet, our athletic supervisor. I want you to meet, you name it. Like, we have so many great people here, as opposed to here's how much money we're going to give you. And here's, the shoes that you get. I'm out. If the conversation goes down that road, or is it rainy here? I'm like, all right. If you're worried about it and you haven't even seen it or whatever, we're in the wrong boat.
Sure, you're calling me out. I was just complaining about the sun that we've been having here.
It's beautiful, right? Every day. It's January. We're outside every day. I love it.
It has been. And Mitch, I really appreciate you coming on here. I want to end this with something fun. Done a great job describing the program. I know you got to jump onto that electric scooter there and get to another meeting because you are the mayor. You're all over the place. It is brought to you by shop.prepbaseball.com. Check out all your needs, hats, polos. I got some good hoodies coming. I'm gonna have to get you some stuff. We're gonna have to do a swap. I need some Beaver gear. We'll do a swap there. With
XL or large?
Large.
Large. Okay.
Large. I gotta try to get the pipes right. I gotta get them to show a little bit. So I've done this with each of the coaches recently. Name the coffee shop I need to go to in Corvallis and the food spot. And I know the food has to be good because I feel like I donate to the Beaver NIL program every time I buy the Reese's cheesy potatoes at Costco. And it's been a lot recently. So give me a couple spots that I got to hit up in Corvallis.
Well, there's no doubt, like right when I leave my office here, I'm over in the basketball stadium now, our office over here. As I'm heading across the train tracks over to the baseball field, I'm going to stop at Dutch Brothers and I'm going to grab a coffee.
Okay. Oregon Zone.
Yeah. But if you're also looking for a great cup and a breakfast, you got to go over to Bodie. Right. Phenomenal breakfast. Okay. The counter plate, big fan. And the owner, Cody, is awesome. If I'm getting lunch, which anyone does on alumni weekend, they go right over to Local Boys, right off.
I've been there. It is good. I can vouch for that.
Up top, Gary knows my order every time. I get that 23. So, and then if like for dinner, like it's so many good options. I mean, really everywhere in town. But Murphy's is a big favorite of my wife and I's, or Taco Vino.
Okay, getting fancy with it.
What do you want to eat? I'm going to go just hit me with every type of taco you got right there. I'm in. But the guys at Murphy's are amazing. And they also do a Hawaiian plate at lunch too.
I got to go to Murphy's now. I haven't heard of Murphy's. So like, I think I'm going to come to a series. You beat up on my Tulane Green Wave last year in the regionals. I won't hold that against you.
Thank you.
The Wave did beat you guys in Omaha in 05. So don't forget about that one. I'll be sure to get that singer in there. But awesome. I got my spots all set. I appreciate all of that. I know you're heading out to a meeting right now. Good luck this spring. We'll be following you guys along. Hopefully I can make it out to at least a couple games. I gotta see Dax Whitney again. I haven't seen him in a while. And Caraway, obviously, one of my favorites. He's going to be a first rounder. So excited for you guys. Mitch Canham of Oregon State, really grateful that you could come on the show.
Well, shoot, thanks for having me. And by the way, when you're down here, we don't need to worry about going out and eat. The best place for you to come eat is over at my house with my family. So we can get some good time on the back porch, maybe go chip and putt, do something. But thanks for having me on, Shoot.
I'm all in. Until next time, we'll see you guys at the ballpark.